morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. Now this morning we continue our conversations as this is the first Monday that our students are back out to school. This morning I have the privilege of speaking with Mr. Stewart, who is the president of the National Parent Teachers Association of Trinidad and Tobago. Welcome to Tobago Updates.
Good morning, Miss Felix. Is it? Good morning to you, and of course, good
Yes.
morning to your listenership in Tobago. I'm happy to be on.
Excellent. Now, you have made comments on what you deem to be extreme measures with officers being present at schools with assault rifles. Talk to us a bit about number one, what do you think would have led to the government or the Ministry of Education making such a extreme decision and why you deem this to be, inappropriate at this time?
Sure. And again, good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to share this platform with you. There is a report, Ms. Felix, out of the Ministry of Education, which indicates to us that over 3 years, 2022 to 2025, over 21,000 students were suspended in our schools. A rough calculation indicates that that's about 180 suspensions per week. Inordinately, a large amount of our students were involved and had to be disciplined via this suspension matrix. In addition, the incidents of school indiscipline and school violence, in particular over the past academic year, all of us have this ubiquitous device called a cell phone, and we were made aware of the infractions at almost the stroke of a pen through social media. And when you look at the types and the incidents of school indiscipline, it is almost near fatal. Students are fighting, both male and female, like hardback, I'm being colloquial, like hardback men. And this was frightening, is frightening, and there had to be decisive, firm action taken in order to alleviate, eradicate even what was the escalating violent situation taking place among our students. That is why we are in this particular position where we are in today, September 8th, now having to have as part of our arsenal in our school discipline matrix the presence of police officers, referred to as school-oriented police officers.
Right. And have you heard from any of the teachers right now as to how they are feeling about this decision to have these officers present at the school?
Well, I've been speaking with educators, principals, and teachers in particular, and the vast majority of our educators are in full support of the presence of police officers. I want to emphasize, though, Ms. Felix, that this is supposed to be a temporary measure so that we continue to monitor what is taking place in our schools. And I really do mean monitor, because we are an AD wonder, an IND wonder, and we implement policy and procedures, which of course would last a short space of time and then they just fall off the radar. Not with this particular initiative. We, as members of the National Council of Parent Teacher Association, will be placing great emphasis, great focus on the presence of the police officers, because we want an abatement of what is taking place in our schools via school indiscipline and school violence.
Right. And even from the perspective of the National Parent Teacher Association, what type of success measures are you looking for after the first 6 months of this project being implemented? Because the minister did say they would be reassessing to see if it is effective, if it's something that they want to do long term. From your perspective, what would you deem to be the success or failure of this initiative?
Well, in the first instance, a drastic reduction in suspensions, because the discipline matrix or the National Code of Conduct indicates that infractions are considered minor, major, and severe. And the major and the severe are the ones that we want to see drastic reduction in ASAP. And of course, as I said before, the National Council of PT will be monitoring these reports coming out of our schools. We have our members on the ground in all 8 education districts in Trinidad and Tobago, and they'll be monitoring the incidences of school indiscipline, school violence, school bullying, and report to us at the National Council of PTA level, the executive level, on an ongoing basis, weekly and monthly. So we are keeping our eyes on what is taking place, our eyes and ears on what is taking place, and we really want to see an abatement, a reduction, and eradication even what is taking place in our schools. Schools, Ms. Felix, are supposed to be, using a topical term, zones of peace, tranquility, safety, and security for all our students so that they can go to school and learn well. They can go to school and where teaching and learning will take place.
But you indicated in a previous interview that you feel like the presence of these officers send a message that all students are criminals. Unpack that a bit for us and talk to us about the psychology behind that and why that may have a negative impact.
Now, you have to be careful with the perception. The perception given with armed police officers is that we are criminals, the students are criminals. And one doesn't want to stigmatize a particular school, and there are 50 schools here in Trinidad that would have the presence of police officers effective today. And one doesn't want to stigmatize for several reasons that that school has to be looked at because it's considered a high-risk schools and there are police officers armed. It also traumatizes to some extent both teachers and students. The perception that they are armed police officers indicates that there's imminent danger, so that the stress level of the teachers and the students would rise because they are looking over their shoulders constantly in case something is on the horizon and something untoward is going to happen. So that the perception issue and of course the stress level of our students and of course our teachers, we can certainly do without with the presence of armed officers. I want to also make mention of the fact that if something is to happen, however, and the police officers are not armed, there'll be no time to say, let me go and look for lethal. Certainly. So we have now considered that option, and we are saying if there are armed officers at the schools, ensure that the firearm is concealed. I will go further because up to this morning, the Minister of Education is also saying that there will be armed officers, yes, on the perimeter of the schools so that they would respond if and when the need arises.
Understood. And even in the case of balancing that safety, security, and reducing anxiety, what are some of the recommendations that the National Parent Teacher Association making to the Ministry of Education?
Right, very good question indeed. Well, the presence of police officers, Ms. Felix, is not a replacement of what presently obtains or exists in our schools with regards to school discipline. There is, and of course, is now a revised version, there is a national school code of conduct, and each school has its own school discipline matrix. The presence of the police officers, therefore, is to enhance and to support what presently obtains with regards to the school discipline matrix. It is hoped that these same police officers can now train the cadre of present school safety officers and MTS officers so that they will have the same level of control, respect, and act as a deterrent so that our students will think twice because they know that the school safety officer is on board, the MTS officer is on board, they speak the same language when it comes to discipline, and that they can take the necessary action if called upon so to do. So it's really about monitoring the presence of the police officers.
A technical difficulty there in terms of audio and visual connection, but we hope to be reconnected with Mr. Stewart very soon. Now, the conversation
Am
we're
I back?
having, yes, you are back.
Am I back on? Yes, my
Yes.
apologies. Yeah, sorry about that. Yes, I was making the point that the training of the MTS officers and the school safety officers, but it's critical now with regards to ensure that we monitor the progress of this particular initiative.
Right. And, you know, we've seen situations in the past, even here in Tobago, where students have gotten into physical altercations with the security at the school. And last year, I believe in Tobago, we even saw parents and students getting into altercations. You know, even moving
My
forward.
apologies for that. Yeah, I'm having some issues here with my internet. Sorry about that. But go ahead, please, Ms. Felix.
Yeah, so as I was saying, we also saw issues where students and parents were getting into physical altercations. Moving forward, what is the national PTA doing to advocate, you know, for parents, for the security at the school, even for the students as it pertains to those type of altercations? What are some of the mechanisms being put in place for discipline? I'm sorry that we're having a bit of an issue there.
Yeah, we have some
Were you
issues here.
able to catch that question
Yeah,
that
I
I
think
asked?
you were asking what measures are we putting in place, National Council of PTA now, to ensure that we can assist our schools which are considered or deemed high-risk schools? Is that the question?
Yes, especially where altercation with parents, security, and
I'm
among
gathering.
students is concerned.
Could you hold on?
No problem. Guys, we're going to take a quick break right here and we'll be back right after this. See you soon. Morning and welcome back to Good Morning Tobago right here on Tobago Updates. I have been chatting with the National Parent Teachers Association President, Mr. Walter Stewart. Good morning and welcome back. Now, before we had a bit of a technical issue before we left off before the break, we were talking about some of the recommendations that the National PTA has been making to the Ministry of Education as it pertains to dealing with those altercations between students and parents, students and the security officers at the schools and among students. Talk to us a bit about that.
Before I answer, with 50. You there with me? You there?
Yes, I am here.
We start with 50 schools in Trinidad, and of course, THA under the Education THA Act, the fifth schedule. But eventually, I'm told by the DCP operations, Mr. Benjamin, that schools in Tobago would eventually be brought on board this particular initiative. What are we recommending, Ms. Felix? Basically, this is a reaction to a particular problem or challenge that we are having in our schools. We have to be proactive and we have to put the emphasis, the focus, and the attention on the formative years of the child's education journey. When the child gets into school in the infant department, we want to ensure that there is a screening process for every child so that you understand the child's socioeconomic situation, the child's physical well-being, the child's adaptation to academia, etc. All those screenings, it will cost a lot of money, but look at the amount of money we are spending on the back end. We need to invest those funds on the front end, the formative years of the child, to understand and, of course, even to make home visits as well, so that the education sector is fully aware of the wherewithal of the child, is able to monitor, advise, and guide parents, teachers, and all responsible with regards to the child. Children don't wake up on a Monday morning and become indisciplined. It has to be a structured, there has to be therefore a structured approach to dealing with our children from the formative years. The NCPTA as well would ensure that we have regular sessions with our parents, parenting programs, parenting initiatives, so that the parent understands the important role that they have to play in the life of their children. These are some of the mechanisms and the measures we want put in place as a matter of urgency so that we can alleviate what is taking place with regards to the infractions in our schools ongoing.
Right. And since this new administration has come into governance, have you been able to have a conversation or a meeting with Minister Dowlat?
Oh, let me say that the minister, who himself was a former teacher and principal, is very engaging and he understands the critical and important role that the parents must play in the education system. We did meet with him formally on the 8th of August. That was our first meeting since he came into office in June of in May, of 2025. We met with him on the 8th of August, and he is already putting measures and systems in place in order to bring the National Council of PTA on board with regards to several initiatives. As a matter of fact, a strategic planning committee has been set up between the National Council of PTA and the Ministry of Education so that we can work harmoniously in implementing and bringing on board initiatives towards a better, more effective and efficient education system in Trinidad and, of course, in Tobago.
Excellent, and I'm extremely happy to hear that. Now, even as we round off the discussion this morning, is there anything that you want to say to the parents and the teachers out there, even with the concerns of safety at the schools as it pertains to this new school year?
Well, first of all, to encourage our parents to get involved in the Parent-Teacher Association. It's a very active Parent-Teacher Association movement in Tobago under the ambit of the Tobago Region Parent-Teacher Association led by Mr. Joseph Lindo. They are doing a fantastic job. 90% of all the schools in Tobago are affiliated with the National Council of Parent-Teacher Association. We want to appeal to our parents to go out to your PTA meetings as and when they are called. More importantly, with regards to the security and the safety of our students, you need to train your children from the onset, from home. The parents are the first teachers. The school is really in the home. That's where we start. And you need to inculcate values, proper values, and moral and spiritual values into your children as to be able to relate to their peers and to ensure that the schools are zones of peace. Schools are areas of tranquility conducive to teaching and learning.
Totally understood. Well, again, Mr. Stewart, we want to thank you so much for being here this morning and all the work that you and the National PTA has been doing in and around the schools and your advocacy and connectivity with the ministry to ensure that you truly convey the sentiments of parents as it pertains to all children's safety, education, and overall well-being. Guys, unfortunately, this is where we end off our discussion this morning, but we want to thank you so much for being a part of this morning's discussions. Thank you for your likes, your shares, and your comments, and all that you have been doing and continue to do to make Tobago Updates the #1 broadcaster here on the island of Tobago. Again, I am your host, Shenell Felix, and have a great day.
Let's go, go. It's a brand new morning, rise up to a brand new dawning as the passion start to rise.